Good evening, Julian McBain here, and this is my 18th Saturday vlog. And this is Mayhem vlog, because it's Easter Mayhem time. So, 2 for the price of 1. And that's a really good deal when the price is 0. There we go. Let's get started here. So, as we pull our first mob, and before we really get started, I just want to remind you, please check out my sponsor, Critical Links. She creates all kinds of fandom jewelry. It's all chainmail based. All the color schemes you could ask for. She'll do any fandom that you can think up. If you don't see what you want in her shop, talk to her. She's more than happy to do custom work. So make sure you check out Critical Links. That's etsy.com/ I think it's pages/critical links. Hang on, let me check that out. Sorry, it's www.etsy.com/shop/critical links. That's www.etsy.com/shop/critical links. Go check her out right now. Tell her Julian sent you. Okay, so Easter Mayhem, and I am about an hour 15 in. I hadn't originally planned on doing Easter Mayhem, but what can I say? I love doing Mayhem. Love doing Mayhem. But you know, this is vlog time and not talk about Entropia Universe time. So, but I will say that it's a lot of fun doing Mayhem, because you get to just do focused hunting, and there's no competing for mobs because you're in an instance, and you just go at it for 10 hours, and you can break it up if you have to, and they stop the clock, and you're in a competition against other people. And I think that really plays to that kind of competitive. There's a piece of our brain that's really honed in on competition. Can you tell I've been listening to psychology lessons again? There's a piece of our brain that's really honed in on competing. And I think this really tickles that part of the brain, because you're competing against other players, but you're not doing so in a way where you can... People can't steal it from you. It's simply a test of ability, and you have comparative results. And in a lot of ways, this is kind of a proving ground in my opinion, for a lot of players, because with the ability to come out, and it's easy to put yourself in a position to be overwhelmed. And so it's a great way to get used to having to combat large herds of mobs, especially when you're not used to it. And for me, this is actually kind of a unique one, because besides hunting in Orthos, where I go after those really low-level bots, I don't hunt bots that often. I like hunting in Orthos because it's like, you know, especially when I'm low on PED for the month, it's a great place to do a lot of low-level hunting. You can pick up some of those first, like the Soulmate Rubios, which you can sell to new players for. Overall, the markup on them is a lot higher than you'd get for other weapons, but you're not selling them for too much a piece, because like a 1 Rubio at full TT is 9 pec, and you can sell them for like 18 pec. So you're getting 200% markup, but you're still not charging the newbie too much. And those Rubios, they last a long time. Not the most hyper efficient gun in the game by any stretch, but because of the small amount that they have, they don't decay very fast. What I ought to do is I ought to do a couple of vids where I play newbie again and go out to like around Camp Icarus, and of course the results are going to be a little bit varied, because I do have, you know, I'm like level 10 or 11 on rifle, but I mean, you can only do so much with a Rubio to begin with. It would just be interesting to see what we can do with a Rubio. Maybe even do like the whole decay. Um, but with that, I kind of want to get into some of the more existential stuff that I wanted to talk about tonight, because I was thinking about it, and I do a lot of thinking, as I'm sure you've all figured out, and you know, it's probably why the house is smoky all the time. Har har. But as I was contemplating Entropia Universe, and Entropia Universe is a rather unique platform, and that is a perfect market simulation that uses real money. It eliminates, in the simulation though, there are a couple of givens. It eliminates the need for basic necessity. Things like shelter, food, fire. They give you some really basic, ugly-looking clothing. Well, it's not too ugly, but they're actually nicer to you on Ark than they are in Calypso. On Kali, they give you these wonderful... I wonder if I have one in my inventory here. I don't think I do. I think I put it away. Yeah, these are my Monria pants. I'm pretty sure they came from Waluro. But, they give you these jumpsuits, which are functional. Have a really low TT value, but they don't decay very fast at all. Which I've had to put some repairs into my other clothes, so it's kind of nice to have something where if I decided to wear it a lot, I know it's not going to decay too fast. I mean, hell, I've been playing Entropia, geez, damn near a year and a half now, and I think I've had to put 3 pec into repairing jumpsuits, so that's like nothing. But anyway, I was discussing this with a couple of people, both my boss and a couple of customers that I have at my job, and no, you're not going to get any more insight into the 9-to-5 of Julian McBain other than the fact that he has a 9-to-5 or a day job, so to speak. And you know, we're kind of discussing what this could turn out to be, you know, possibilities on Lore Spade's stream, because today is Thursday and Lore Spade literally just ended his stream. So make sure you go to his channel and check out that stream recording, because he always posts the recording of it afterward, and it's the first 2 hours of Easter Mayhem. It's worth watching. It's a lot of fun, so go do that. But anyway, we are continually increasing the automation of our world, and so with that increased automation, we are also expanding the amount of our world that exists on the digital plane, on the digital space, which of course is only bounded by the amount of digital and analog memory we can produce and manufacture. Now, considering how many petabytes of information it took to take a single picture of a black hole in another galaxy, that means there is a lot of potential for digital space. And I am not downplaying the necessity or the importance of being able to take that photo of a black hole in another galaxy. It was exceptionally important that there were people that were capable of doing it. And if you can find the video of I think her name is Katie Bauman, Dr. Bauman, and watch some of the things that she discusses on it, it's really worth watching. But anyway, as we transform more of our lives into digital space, whether through virtual reality or augmented reality, and this is kind of I guess you could call this the Sword Art Online conundrum, although the concept behind it is much older than that. Are we building ourselves a gilded cage? Are we building ourselves a gilded cage? because as we get more and more used to these digital spaces, are we going to be able to cope less with the analog world? Are our interpersonal relations, our ability to have interpersonal relationships going to decay over time? And that's tough, man. I don't know. That's something I've been struggling with, because I spend a lot of time in the digital space, as I'm sure you can all guess. Whether I'm, well, oh wow, 49.35. That was a nice loot. I spend a lot of time in the digital space, and I mean, I'm sure you can guess, I spend a couple of hours in Entropia Universe almost every single night. And when I'm not playing Entropia Universe, and I'm not doing my normal life responsibilities, I've been playing other games. But I don't know for sure. I don't know if we are creating an alternate reality, for lack of a better term, because we just can't handle the one that we were given. And I mean, coming from a gamer, that's a real existential problem. Because, like, I know there's a lot of research in it. And, hang on. There's a lot of research into it, and I know that if, for young children, screen time is a detriment. And for our generation, I'm an older millennial. I was born in '84. So I'm they sometimes call us Zennials. You know, we're kind of a cross-generational mix of Gen X and Millennial, because a lot of us still had 8-tracks, and our parents had 8-tracks in their cars when we were born. We remembered the boombox on the big guy's shoulder. Oh crap, where was I? NES was still the most modern video game system. Okay, sorry, my gray hair is showing. But now that we know, because let's face it, digital media can be addictive. It can be addictive for children, it can be addictive for adults. The stimulus, it's almost as if we are deliberately overstimulating ourselves. And for kids, that can be a lot worse. And I see it in my son a little bit. So, you know, I feel like a hypocrite doing it, but I control his screen time. I sharply control it because it's not good for him. And I notice quantifiable shifts in behavior when there's too much screen time, especially actively playing video games. And I can't figure out why. And I don't know, man. It's tough, because if we limit our children too much, we could be harming their ability to have the skills they need to succeed in the future, because life is just going to become more digitized, not less. That's just a fact of life. But at the same time, we could be harming their brain development by letting them do it too much. And so trying to strike that balance is the real key. And at the same time, striking the balance is key. We need to think about how we ourselves are addressing this digital space and prevent it from becoming a cage of our own design. You know, not to kind of call up images of the Matrix, not quite that far, although it could go that far. I mean, there's already a video gaming AI out there. Keys doing AI. But I still think we got a long way to go before it becomes an issue. But I'm someone who would prefer to take it slow and know the risks before we go into it. If that makes any sense at all. I'm probably just running in circles now, mentally. The world is changing fast. And it's hard to predict. And we don't know what the next step will bring. And I mean, the world is just full of hate and politics and just absolute nastiness, and you know, people aren't. I think we're seeing outside of the digital space the worst of humanity is really becoming the norm. Or I should say the worst aspects of it. Not that all the people involved are the worst of humanity, although some of them I'm sure are. But just like everything's anger and vitriol and just spewing hatred. And I think that's why these digital spaces appeal to so many people. Because here you're a different person than you are in real life, or at least theoretically you are. You know, in Entropia Universe, I'm Kenichi Kamadake, named after a character in my second book, which I am still in the middle of editing. That one I'm planning on releasing on Kindle, because apparently that's free now. I should re-release the first one on Kindle. Do a last, you know, one last update to it, which is just a couple of minor tweaks for those of you who read the free version on my website at www.mcbainmanor.com/ghosts of the past. And then but I did it because of I liked the character so much I wanted to give him life. And ironically, he's a Yakuza boss, like family head of a Ninkyo Dantai, which is the Yakuza's term for the Yakuza. It literally means chivalrous organization. The police don't agree with them. Which is really interesting because in Japan, the Ninkyo Dantai are actually in a lot of ways classified as legitimate businesses. Now there has been pressure, and frankly it's been from the United States where the pressure has come from, because these organizations were actually an integral part of Japanese culture for centuries, since the Edo period. And I kind of wanted to bring that personality back into the Dead World universe, and so I took the concept of the Yamagachi Gumi, who is or at least was, I don't know, they've had a couple schisms, I don't know if they're still the largest or not, but they were definitely the most influential. But I took the idea of the Yamaguchi Gumi and created this conceptual Ninkyo Dantai called the Kamadake Gumi, led by Kamadake Kenichi, who's the Oyabun, or Kumicho, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. And so, in the Dead World universe, they are, they control a lot of Vice and Graft on Titan, which has been terraformed. But they have some strict rules. They avoid drugs if they can. They avoid the hardest drugs. They avoid human trafficking of any sort. And so their big thing is protection rackets. But they also own the largest communications company in the solar system, so they're able to do things mostly legitimately. And so, you know, after writing the book and developing the character and the things that happen in the book, and I'm not going to go into that because spoilers, you know, if anyone actually decides to read the book, then, you know, it's important to not have spoilers. But yeah, I loved the character so much, the concept of the character so much. I decided that when I came to Entropia Universe, I would play him. Of course, at the time, I never intended a year and a half ago to become a YouTuber. That was never in the cards, and then suddenly it happened, and here I am. So that's the story behind Kenichi Kamadake, or Kamadake Kenichi, as it would be properly stated in Japanese. Tangents. So yeah, we're faced with we're going to be faced with a lot of tough cultural questions, I think, in the next 1 to 2 decades, especially revolving around computers and virtual spaces. And it's not easy to figure out what the correct answer is going to be, because these are all questions that humanity has never had to face before for any reason. And to make matters worse, I mean, having lived at the end of the Cold War and seeing the way things were at the time, and there are a few things I remember from when I was 6, but I do remember certain things. I remember talking about the Soviet Union when it was still the Soviet Union. You know, for me, the Soviet Union isn't history. It was something that was there when I was alive. I remember the day the Soviet Union collapsed. I remember the day that the wall came down. I remember watching it on the news. Like, do I remember watching that on the news? Yes, I watched that on the news. I've seen so many replays of it, sometimes I can't remember. I remember there being 2 Germanys. I had to do a school project where we had to draw a map of Europe, and there were 2 Germanys. And I know that probably 3/4 of the people watching this... No, I won't say that, because Entropia Universe tends to have an older audience. Call it half. Call it half the people that run across this video, and more percentage-wise as time goes on, probably will say, wait a second, that was a thing. Yes, there were 2 Germanys at one point. And I'm watching as a Cold War of a similar sort is starting to crop up in cyber. And it's terrifying. Now, I remember watching Die Hard, Live Free or Die Hard. And at the time that happened, I was like, okay, you know, this is a cool movie, but that could never happen. No, it can happen. The proverbial fire sale could happen. And it's terrifying. That's not to say I don't want us to continue developing technology. I think this is vitally important to our continued development and growth. But at the same time, we have to accept the dangers that come along with all of this technology stacking up on each other. Sometimes we develop technology we don't even understand. I mean, hell, we just discovered a theoretical celestial body. Something like, what, 30 billion times the size of Earth? Let me look that up. Because it was incredibly massive. It's 6.5 billion times the size of Sol, the size of our sun. Think about that for a second. 6.5 billion times the size of our sun. that's unfathomably huge. I'm pretty sure that's bigger than the size of our whole solar system, the whole orbital plane of our solar system, including Eris, which has a rather large and eccentric orbit. Although, well, no, yeah, I mean, if 6.5 billion, I can't process the scale of something that large. Could you imagine the gravitational forces? You'd be ripped to shreds and before you knew what happened. But the same technology that allowed us to take that picture of an object so far away, we're seeing light from it from billions, is it billions of years ago? At least millions of years ago. Through this Earth-sized telescope. This technology, which took petabytes of digital information to process, is the same is the same type of thing that could put us in our own gilded cage if we're not careful. And I'm no conspiracy theorist. I'm not gonna say it's going to happen. While I am one of the first people to embrace digitization, like, when I'm close to death, dump my brain in a computer, bud. I will live out the rest of eternity in the servers of Entropia Universe with gusto. Because when you have that much time, you don't have to depot anymore. You just spend your days sweating, and when you have enough money, go out and hunt for a while. Why not? But I don't know, man. There's just so many questions. So many questions and not a lot of answers. And I'm going to pull this guy back toward the terminals because we're coming up to closing time. I think that we have an exciting future ahead of us as long as we keep, for lack of a better term, a solid head on our shoulders. We need to make sure we keep reasoning, reason at the forefront. And just remember to proceed with logic and caution. Alright guys, thank you for watching, thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe down below. Still going for 100 subscribers before the end of the month. It is, as of date of recording, April 18th. And I have 23 to go. Please guys, I'd really appreciate it. Okay, thank you so much for your support. It's been great. Have a great night.